everybody, welcome back to Sports Central. Neil Duncan alongside Ryan Buckley, and 2022, it's hard to believe we're already here.
It's hard to believe I'm at the first show. I can't believe you went called to the bullpen early on in the year, and here I am, excited, ready to go.
Desperate times, desperate measures. But this first segment brought to us by Lake Myrtle Dentistry, a great partner of tourism and sports marketing. But as we've talked about, there's so many things going to be happening in 2022. So we'll kind of dive into those as the show goes on. But one of those events that's coming back in 2022 is a long-standing Polk County tradition, and of course, Ryan, that's the Polk Senior Games.
Yes.
And joining us today is Dwayne Hopkins for our first segment from the Polk Senior Games, and no stranger to Sports Central, but Dwayne, welcome back.
Well, it's good to be back with you all again.
Yeah, Happy New Year, and we're thrilled to have the Polk Senior Games back.
So happy to get them going again. We took a break last year because of COVID, out of concern for our senior citizens, both contestants as well as volunteers who really help us make the games go. We have to start about 5 or 6 months before the games actually occur to do the planning, to secure the venues, find volunteers, check the equipment, and so on and so forth. So we have to kind of forecast what things are going to be like 5 or 6 months out. This year we decided, after looking at the CDC guidelines and consulting with local public health officials, that we could offer only the outdoor events rather than all of the events that we typically. So that's disappointing, but for a lot of us, that's still going to be a lot of fun.
Sure.
We normally had, I think in 2020, when we last had the full games, we had 2,492 participants and 700 plus volunteers. So there are more than 3,200 people involved in putting on the games last year.
Well, I will say this, Polk County, and Ryan, we certainly know this, Polk County Tourism, Sports Marketing, recruits, hosts, sponsors, has something to do with more than 270 events per year. So we certainly understand that these events don't just show up and they don't just occur. It does take that volunteer base. But as we look at this year's event, February 26th through Saturday, March 12th, we want to hit a few times during this segment. What is the registration deadline? Because we know that's important and it's coming up.
Deadline is February the 11th, because it takes us about 2 weeks after that to get all the slottings and the pairings and all that kind of range. So it's important to have that in the office by the 11th, not postmarked, but rather received in the office.
Yeah, and remember, for that registration, you have to be 50 years of age, correct?
That's
for
right.
The registration.
Men or women, but there's no residency requirement. You don't have to be a resident of Polk County, even though it's the Polk Senior Games. We have residents who are winter visitors, for example, so they come from all over the country. We're one of, I think, about 20 events in the state that qualify people for the state games, and through the state games you qualify for the national games, which are held every other year. 2023 will be the next national games.
Got it. Well, that's great to know. So we have more excitement coming up on the senior game side. And Neil, you're knocking on the door. They're just not letting you in yet. You're not there yet on the age side.
Dwayne, I'll tell you, Ryan's trying to be funny, but I do appreciate your answer, being 50, that I don't quite qualify yet for the senior games.
Well, the senior number keeps getting lower and lower. It used to be 55. Now it's 50, so.
Okay, hold on.
So maybe by next year I'm in.
Might have a play here.
Well, that's tremendous. And you talk about the number of athletes competing, and really the festival type atmosphere that this event is. We talked about February 11th is the deadline for this year's event that starts on February 26th, but I know you can always use volunteers. There's really no deadline to that.
No,
is
never
there?
a volunteer deadline at all. Absolutely not. And as I said, without the volunteers, we couldn't make this happen. We have one full-time employee, our executive director. There are about 40 of us on the board of directors, and it's a working board, not an honorary thing. But without those 700 volunteers, we just couldn't pull it off. And it's a way to get seniors out into the community, to keep them active, alive, engaged in recreation, socializing. And it also is a wonderful event for volunteerism, to get people to do that. And this is a great county for that kind of thing.
Absolutely, 100%. And when you hear that many volunteers that are needed for that many participants, your first thought, if you're not familiar with the event, is what is happening? Or what are all the events that take place? Can you shed a little light on the different events that take place throughout the tournament?
Well, this year we'll have archery and boccery, we'll have golf, we'll have tennis, we'll have pickleball, which is probably the fastest growing recreational sport in the country. We have shooting events. We have about 30 different events offered. So if there's anything, if you can get out and do some physical activity, this is the time to do it. This is the way to do it.
Well, I was just looking at some of the collateral that you provided to us, and of course we talked about the athletes, very important, the volunteers, the organization behind the event, but partners, corporate partners, whether they're giving in-kind or they're giving the human resources or the financial resources. So go ahead and take a moment to thank some of your partners that make
All of
the
the
senior
above.
games.
We have more than 250 of those partners with us, and of course the major supporters are public supermarkets, charities, Homer and Annette Thompson Legacy, CPS Investment Advisors, the James W. Sykes family, and Humana and Max Health. And without them, we couldn't do this either. And it's people like you who give us in-kind support that make this thing run.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we talk about on this show quite often. The fact that there's events that have gone on here and have quite a history and legacy in Polk County. And the reason that has continued to happen and be so successful is local partnerships and relationships and being able to weather the storm, whether it's an economic downturn, whether it's a pandemic, or whatever the reason, that those relationships. And one of the reasons so many people move to Polk County is they might come here for sports or special events and and they realize what a great quality of life we have. This event I would definitely categorize in that arena.
Absolutely, I agree with that very much, of course. We think we're the largest event of this type in the state. We offer more events than any other venue, and we actually offer more events than are offered in the state senior games. Now, when I say that, I'm including the indoor games as well, which we're not offering this year.
Sure.
But it's a good opportunity to get out and socialize and have some fun. We talk about a great way to have fun, a great way to stay young. That's what the Polk Senior Games is all about.
Absolutely. You talk about the variety of events you mentioned earlier and the magnitude of the event. Where do you house these events, right? How do you make sure that the team that you're working with is able to successfully put on
Well,
this
they're
event?
all over the county, several in Lakeland, of course, but in Winter Haven, in Bartow, Haines City, Fort Meade. Pickleball is in Point Siena. So we cover the county pretty well as far as venues are concerned.
Well, I think, and a great point, Ryan, the facilities is another component of that, and it's not only municipal facilities within Polk County, but also, if I remember correctly, the Polk County Public Schools is also a partner in some of this as well. So again, everybody coming together to make a successful
The
event.
field events, for example, are at Bartow High School. The opening ceremonies at All Saints School on 540. And those are often provided us with no charge, thankfully. So without that kind of support, we couldn't make this work.
Where can folks get more information about the event, or maybe they're new to Polk County or they haven't participated in the past and they want to get involved? Where can they get more information, or who can they reach out to?
I'm glad you asked that, because to register you can go to polkseniorgames.org, O-R-G, and download a registration form, fill it out, and send it back by mail. We're not yet equipped to do it electronically, so you'll have to download it and send it in. But that's the simple way to do it, and you'll get something that looks like this, or the registration form that's inside. Fill it out and complete it, and you're registered. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I also want to mention how inexpensive this can be. The first event that you enter is $10. Of course, that includes the ubiquitous T-shirt, white for the competitors and yellow for the volunteers. But every event thereafter is only $3 to a maximum of $28. So that's what, 7 events that you can enter for $28. Now, some of them have an extra fee, like golf, for example. Archery has one, the shooting events because of the ammunition and so forth. But it's a pretty inexpensive way to get out, and you can enter as many events as you want beyond 7, as long as the schedule fits. Yeah.
I know we've only got about a minute and a half left before we have to go to our first break, but in talking about this, I know you volunteered for a long, long time helping to make this be a successful event, but how many events have you competed in, and how much hardware have you brought home?
Oh, now don't embarrass me that way. No, I have a few hanging at the house.
I know you do. That's why I'm asking.
But tennis is my primary sport.
Yes, sir.
Outside, but inside, I like to participate in bag toss, which some people call cornhole. Let's see, what else? Cribbage, a card game called cribbage that I play once a year in the senior games. I grew up with that game, but I haven't played it except in the games for an awfully long time. And I also get into a game called Senior Smarts. You guys, with all your knowledge of trivia, once you get to 50, you would be good at this because it's kind of a Jeopardy game. And now we compete in age groups. So I'm in the 85 to 89 group. We have a 90 to 94, but it starts at the 50 year, every 5 years. So it's a challenging game too. All the trivia you can think of.
Well, we certainly know the minimum or the starting age, but what is the oldest participant that you've had, kind of on average, year in and year out?
The oldest I'm aware of, 2 years ago was his last year. He was 103.
Wow.
I've seen him compete in his 90s in bowling and 4 or 5 swimming events. But it's amazing to me how many 90-year-olds we have competing still, and very active. Running, bowling. You know, we must have had 35 last time we offered the games in the 90 to 94 year group.
That's fantastic. Dwayne, one more time, the registration deadline is February 11th, and what is the website?
The website is polkseniorgames.org.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it again. Polk Senior Games, February 26th through March 12th, all over Polk County. And if you want more information, of course, you can always give us a call and we can put you in contact with the right people, 863-551-4750. Dwayne, thanks again. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
Well, that is not the only senior event that we host in Polk County. We host a number of senior softball events throughout the year. We're going to take a look at some past events as we get ready for the Tournament of Champions coming back to Polk County February 9th through the 13th. Take a look at this, and Ryan and Neil will be right back here on Sports Central.